I'm Meg LaTorre-Snyder, editor of the Pharmaceutical Processing magazine, and we are here with Angelo Stracquatanio, co-founder of Apprentice Field Suite, for our INTERPHEX Live video conference. So Angelo, could you tell me a little bit about your company and its involvement in virtual and augmented reality technologies?
Yes, absolutely. First, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited about INTERPHEX 2017. This will be our third year now, which is quite exciting. I can't believe that it's gone by this quickly. But our company specializes in augmented reality and virtual reality technologies for specifically and only for pharmaceutical manufacturing and R&D. And we did this because our company has quite a deep expertise in this space. And we've customized a solution specifically for the vertical for things around troubleshooting, training, procedures, safety, data collection. And we touch upon a bunch of different things that we'll get into more a little bit later on with some of the trends that are kind of forming within the industry.
Okay, awesome. So to start, could you briefly explain the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have some toys with us today. So I have something here. This is an example of a virtual reality headset. So this headset, as you can see, if you put your eyes in there, there's no clear view through seeing through it. And oh, it's talking to me. But essentially, you're completely walled off from the world, where there is no view that you can see through it. There's a completely encapsulated space within it, and it's a virtual world, literally, where everything that you're seeing around you, up, down, left, right, is completely virtual. On the flip side, there are augmented reality headsets, like I have one here, where you can actually see through the frame itself into the world around you. So this is particularly useful in pharma environments because if you're walking around a facility, you want to be able to see what's in front of you, because we have a number of different glasses, or not just we, but the industry at large has a number of different glasses that say, for example, have safety glasses out of the box. This is called a monocular view. So there's just one small little screen at the corner of your eye versus the headset that I just shown you that is more binocular, where you can see through it and it's two eyes. And there's been a lot of developments lately within the industry as a whole. So on the virtual reality side, there are headsets like the one that I showed you that work in conjunction with a smartphone, or that are now tethered to a PC, which makes it a little bit difficult for mobility if you're completely plugged into a computer. But conversely, on the augmented reality side, there are a number of brand new headsets that allow greater flexibility and very much a lot of improvements around weight, battery, ease of use, etc. And that's really the main difference. If you think about it, virtual, completely closed off; augmented, see the world around you.
Okay. I like how you simplified that at the end, so that virtual reality is a completely different reality versus augmented. It's actually what's in front of you, but maybe there's altered somehow.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, the aim with augmented is to place objects from pharmaceutical manufacturing, whether that's a procedure or values being collected in the digital space, in your field of view, so that while you're working, you can be completely hands-free. And that's the real switch here, is that it's not a tablet, it's not a smartphone, it's not even a binder or a piece of paper. These smart glasses and all these different devices allow you to work completely with your two hands.
Awesome. Can't wait to have heard a voice. Can't wait to have that kind of opportunity in journalism, so then we don't even have to hold papers. So my next question is, overall, how has augmented and virtual reality technologies advanced in terms of headsets and image quality?
Yeah, so they've advanced quite a bit. So we've been around for about 3.5, now almost 4 years, all the way back to when Google Glass first came out. For viewers that are familiar with that device, Google made a big splash with it. It made all the headlines, but the device itself was a little bit limited, obviously. And what ended up happening over the next couple of years is that we saw some trends around more industrial use cases, which is where we fit in. A lot of the devices became smaller, lightweight, had safety glasses, were water and dust proof, had extended battery life. And that was the first big trend that happened maybe about 2 years ago. And then we started to see a big shift now within the last year and a half to these larger mixed reality headsets. That was the first device I showed you with the binocular view, because that device allows us to actually place 3D objects in the world around you. So one of our customers, for example, is bringing a 3D model of their equipment into the glasses so that while they're training in a conference room, they can see a life-size representation of that piece of equipment right there in front of them. And this allows them to have a whole classroom of people looking at a specific piece of equipment in a classroom setting and not in the manufacturing suite, in the production environment, and having so many people in a small little suite. So we're seeing these trends go from smaller, more compact to much more robust 3D kind of more immersive technologies. And cameras, obviously.
Okay. And for those who don't know, that aren't familiar with, augmented and virtual reality technologies, it sounds like they've been around for a couple of years. How long have they been around? Do you know?
So the big ones kind of started, or I would say the catalysts, the devices that acted as catalysts that allowed us to finally deploy these things in production settings and actually see real value within the industry happened about 3 years ago with the advent of Google Glass. However, prior, we've seen many of the earlier models that were much bulkier and were either connected to a computer or they were weighing down on the top of your head. But they stretch back many years, because this concept of being able to see images and other types of information in the world around you has been around for as long as computers have been around. Humans have been wishing and dreaming to be hands-free but still have information, kind of like a Iron Man type setup. And we're getting so close to that now, and we now with these devices are ready to actually be able to have a world like that.
Love the Iron Man reference. All right. So what are some of the ways augmented and virtual reality technologies can be applied in pharmaceutical manufacturing environments? So what are some of the advantages?
Sure. So there are 3 key kind of buckets that we see that happen through the industry around different use cases. The biggest and fastest ROI that a company can experience is what we consider telepresence, where essentially one of these glasses are put on, whether it's virtual, augmented, or some of the smaller monocular smart glasses, and a remote subject matter expert can be anywhere else in the world. And that subject matter expert can be halfway on the other side of the facility, or in Germany or Spain, and you have your facility here in the States. And essentially that subject matter expert can see exactly what that person is seeing in real time and can collaborate, troubleshoot, train, and even draw on their field of view to point out and pinpoint certain issues that may pop up. And it allows for a very quick and easy process for the individual who's in suite or in the lab to still keep their hands free, but have a subject matter expert coaching them or walking them through a potential issue. And that's the one we're seeing completely across the board that resonates immediately. The second group of use cases that are coming up in the industry are around process and workflow aids. So imagine SOPs, batch records, job plans, preventive maintenance plans, all brought into these headsets so that, again, somebody can work completely hands-free. They can have that information in front of them in their line of sight. So as they're working, they have the information that they need completely readily available without having to look for their binder, put it down, print out new papers, interact with a tablet with 2 hands. It's all in their line of sight. And then the last area that we're seeing, which has been kind of the most amount of development that we've seen within the last year and a half-ish, has been around using these devices for digital data collection. And what I mean by that is we can do, and we've seen instances where values like analog gauges, handwriting, labels, barcodes, QR codes, even sample volumes can all be automatically read by just looking at it through the headsets. And it's a really big active area of development we're seeing within the industry. And it allows people to, and I quote, be scientists, not secretaries. It allows them to use this information to actually collect the kind of analog data around them without necessarily having to just transcribe constantly.
For that third group that you were describing, it kind of sounds like it could potentially be a supply chain tool. Is that what it's intended for, or it has many potential applications?
So we don't focus necessarily on supply chain. However, we know that there are people in the industry that are focusing on supply chain, and it absolutely can be used in that instance. We can also see it being used a lot in the lab. It's probably where we're seeing it the most in that kind of third bucket. Mostly because a lot of the stuff that people are interacting with, whether it's sample tubes or raw materials, they all have these labels on them that they then have to type into a computer somewhere. And so this allows them to be able to instead, oh, look at the bottle, type it in, look at this, type it in. It allows them to quickly look at it, grab that information without doing anything, transcribe to where they need it to go, and move on to the next process and the next process. We're also seeing it in warehousing. Again, not our specialty, but we're seeing it elsewhere in the industry where people are focusing on kind of like pick and pack, where, imagine some labels where they want to find, exactly where to warehouse a particular item or grab an item from the warehouse. It's also another area that we're seeing quite a bit that's popping up throughout the industry.
Oh, well, it sounds like there's a lot of potential uses and outlets, so that's awesome. So, how can augmented and virtual reality technologies be used in an R&D setting? I know we talked about that a little bit before, but.
Yeah, so the three key, again, buckets that we see in R&D, first is by far the most that we're seeing is that kind of scientist, not secretary concept, where, they're using these types of glasses to collect information. And we've done a number of different things with our customers in an R&D space. One of them, one example is around single-use bags. So one of our customers has a ton of single-use bags all over their, not all over their lab, it's a little more organized than that, but it has a handwritten batch number, start date, end date, etc., written on the bag. And when they go to weigh these bags, normally they'd have to run over to a computer, run back, type it in what they were doing. And now what we're doing instead is they look at the single-use bag, it reads the handwriting values, saves it, and they weigh the next bag and the next bag. So a lot of areas in R&D, when people are collecting information and they don't necessarily want to transcribe it, is what we're seeing a lot of. Another area that we're seeing a lot of in the lab is procedures. So being able to not just look at procedures, but create a procedure to save it for later training or just sharing with a colleague. Because the glasses are also capable of photo and video collection and voices and transcription as well. So for example, one of the areas we're seeing a lot of is when somebody is performing an experiment and they want to record exactly what it looks like at a given time or a date, they can use the glasses to take a picture of a video, or if there's a value associated with a given step, they can even record the value with their voice and it'll immediately transcribe it to a numerical value digitally, all again while holding their hands on the experiment itself. So those are the two big key areas that we're starting to see a shift in, and we'll probably mostly learn a lot more over the coming years.
So it sounds like hands-off in any setting, especially ones with R&D where you're working, is kind of like super ideal.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how can augmented and virtual reality technologies streamline operational efficiency for pharmaceutical and/or biotech companies?
Yeah. So I talked a lot about, collecting information and viewing data and troubleshooting, et cetera. But if that can't be turned into actionable kind of values for management, it just misses that last component. So what we're seeing the most across the industry in terms of trends is using this information in a reporting setting, collecting information with regards to how a procedure is followed, how long it takes, what values may be collected off of that procedure. Again, what values are collected in the lab or other pieces of equipment, and bringing those into a reporting suite to then say, okay, myself as a manager who wants to improve operational efficiency, what can I see here? What trends can be developed? And then what actionable tasks can I develop off of this information? And that's the last component of this, which is, it's nice to have a hands-free headset. It's a nice change or a transformation in the work process. But the big benefit we see from an efficiency/operational standpoint is taking this information and turning it into actionable results. And that's through whether it's reporting tools, feeding this into existing reporting suites and other business intelligence applications. It's that component that will finally allow organizations to not just make it easy for the workers, but also make it valuable to management to then say, okay, hey, how can we actually streamline operations here?
Okay. Plus, I mean, maybe even some of those SOPs or documents that like it's hard to access, you can use them more readily.
Absolutely. Even as simple, just getting rid of paper is an efficiency in and of itself.
Yes. And what have been the main challenges for business interested in augmented reality and or virtual reality?
Yep. So admittedly, there in this industry that's quite regulated, as you may know, there are a number of different challenges that have come up. However, we've worked with our customers through these challenges for as simple as, for example, prescription safety glasses. I know it sounds quite obvious, but you need to be able to have something where this pair of safety glasses is prescription based. It makes sense. I wear glasses. I'm wearing contacts now, but if I'm wearing one of these headsets, I prefer having my prescription lenses in. And so we worked with another manufacturer that specializes in prescription eyewear to help us develop and kind of solve that problem. Another one is just generally around digital compliance. And so our solution, we had to go through a very long process of ensuring that we complied with a number of different standards in order to even use these in a pharmaceutical setting. And then beyond that, there are just general cultural kind of barriers that we had to get over that we've also seen, not just us, but other people in the industry as well, around acceptance of using a piece of hardware like this on your face. Even though all the benefits are there, it's quite funny that Google Glass not only helped us, but hurt us from a societal / cultural acceptance standpoint. Even though there was a big PR splash, there was also a subsequent flop after the fact, kind of got a little bit of a backlash. The good news is that we've had enough time, in our opinion, in between Google Glass and now, and a lot of the challenges or issues have been resolved over that time period. And so we're seeing now a cultural shift in adoption and a little bit more acceptance towards a head-worn device like these.
And as a whole, how has the industry reacted to the use of augmented and virtual reality technologies in pharmaceutical operations?
Yeah, so as a whole, we've seen tremendous excitement around these devices, particularly around that kind of first bucket that I mentioned around telepresence. And the reason why is because, if a technology can't deliver a fast return on investment, it's hard for a business to say, okay, why am I going to go down this path? Why am I even going to explore a pilot? And the beauty of these devices is that even though, yes, they can do these amazing things around 3D content and collecting values, et cetera, the simple application of just being able to see what your colleague is seeing on the other side of the world is a huge benefit. We had a customer who they have an operational plant in Brazil. They flew me down to Sao Paulo, and they simply just wanted to see what was going on in the lab down in Sao Paulo, back here in the States. And they are able to now use these glasses, put them on, and instead of having to fly an employee at a tremendous expense down to Brazil, they instead can put these glasses on and see exactly what they're seeing in real time. And what we found is that for that simple use case, it's a tremendous shift because they can finally see into their operations around the world. And there's a lot of things that don't come up anymore, like, for example, language barriers or other types of miscommunications, because the subject matter expert can just see what they're seeing. And so because of that alone, that simple use case, we've seen a much greater adoption than we even anticipated, honestly. And that didn't even get into the fancy schmancy stuff. It was centered around just kind of the nice, easy use case that's a win that an organization can realize quite quickly.
And from my own background, in a user case such as this, is it possible to maybe edit some of the data entry or documents at both like two different locations? Like, how does the data management work?
Sure. So I can't speak to other solutions, but I can speak to ours. And how our solution works is we have an entire web application that allows management to control certain procedures, data, pieces of equipment, user permissions, you name it, all through this web application that we can also integrate with existing systems. So our big thing is that we don't want to recreate a document management system. We don't want to recreate any system like an MES system, for example. No, you've made a tremendous investment in this. You keep it and we integrate with it. So what we end up doing is we pull from those systems, we bring that in, and we allow management to refine who sees what content, what location has access to a certain piece of content, and who can edit that content and revalidate it, of course, in those different situations.
Okay, so it sounds like it can be very personalized to each individual company's needs or requirements and all.
Absolutely, and every customer we've had to do some form of customization for around that.
Okay. And so what trends are you seeing for augmented and virtual reality technologies in pharma, and any predictions in the coming years?
Yeah, so we'll actually be at CES in January, just a couple weeks from now, where a lot of the big players come and show their new toys, and we'll actually be in a booth with one of our partners. And what we're hoping to see over the coming years are smaller, lighter, faster. I know that's kind of a broad technology statement, but the situation is this virtual reality headset, for example, needs to be smaller. It's a large device, and yes, it accomplishes a goal, but it needs to be smaller, it needs to be lighter, and it needs to have higher resolution around a number of different things. So we've purposely chosen to kind of wait on this virtual reality component. Yes, we have been exploring it, but we're still kind of waiting until it miniaturizes a little bit. And so what we're hoping, this is the real goal, what we're hoping is that these devices will be so small that you won't know the difference between a pair of safety glasses and a pair of these augmented reality devices. And that's the real dream here. And I know for a fact that a number of manufacturers are going down that path and getting us very close to this kind of safety glass-ish kind of technology. And that's the trend that I'm hoping is going to form quite quickly. But it's going to evolve, of course, over the next couple of years. But the good news is that at least we have devices today that we can actually use and see value from, and can actually be used in a pharmaceutical setting. But one day soon, they'll be as small as safety glasses.
Okay, awesome. And so, as far as INTERPHEX 2017 goes, I hear that the ARVRQ will be returning. For those who are unfamiliar, could you explain what this is?
Yeah, so we found that just explaining these smart glasses, or showing them a device doesn't have as much kick as actually putting one of these devices on and experiencing true augmented reality in real life. And so we developed this cube that we brought to INTERPHEX last year, and it was a huge hit. We constantly had a line, and we figured out a way to hopefully manage that this year. But essentially, attendees can step into this cube and feel what it's like to have an augmented reality headset on, see 3D content in front of them, the completely cutting edge stuff that's happening within the industry right now. And last year we had a tremendous response from attendees that were really excited to not just be able to see a device, not just put it on, but be able to physically step inside what was akin to a manufacturing suite and feel what it's like to actually work with these devices. And so for INTERPHEX 2017, we have a really, really cool demo that we have been developing for the last year that we really hope that attendees will be excited about. And it's all around, I'll just give a little taste, it's around sharing. And I know that sounds very vague, but essentially imagine every attendee will have a pair of smart glasses on, and they'll be able to share something, I can't say yet, between everyone. So it's kind of like a group experience instead of just a singular experience this year.
Okay. Are there other new features that will be in the ARVRQ this year as well?
Yes, absolutely. So we have some new hardware that we're bringing with us. This pair of smart glasses here, it's one of the smaller ones, but brand new. We're one of the only few companies in the world that even have this device at the moment. We have another pair here that I have, a different, a little smaller, a little bit sleeker. Also safety glasses, a completely different kind of view. So we have a lot of new devices that people can try on that are much smaller, sleeker, faster, that are getting towards that safety glasses dream, as well as a really amazing demo, we feel, with the 3D headset that we had last year. So last year we gave attendees a taste of this 3D headset, but boy, did we do a lot of development this year that we hope attendees will really kind of be wowed by when they step into the cube and feel this immersive experience.
Awesome. And just as a final question, what are you most looking forward to for INTERPHEX 2017?
So we love INTERPHEX. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, we're on a web demo right now, but by far it's our most exciting show of the year, in our opinion. Even more exciting than CES, and we get to see all the new toys there. Primarily because, one, it's in our backyard. So we're a company headquartered in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is directly across the river from the Javits Center. We can pretty much see it from our office window. But beyond that, though, it's the quality of the attendees. We go to a number of different shows throughout the year, but the quality of the attendees at INTERPHEX are just, in our opinion, unmatched. And that's why we love going to the show, simply because people are excited, people are, you know, really quick and smart, and they can see the value in this. And, you know, it doesn't hurt that it's only a 10-minute commute from the office.
That sounds like a nice perk. All right, well, I think that's all we have for today. So thank you so much for joining us, Angelo, and we look forward to seeing you in New York.
Thank you very much.